Hi, I'm Stephen Hopp from Piano Works Gallery and Clocks in Midland, Texas. Piano Works has been in West Texas area for 20 years, and we've been helping people with their pianos for all of that time. And now we have a brick and mortar store at 1019 North Midkiff Road in Midland. And in the last 2 years that store's been open, we have had a lot of calls from people who either have an old piano that they would like to sell, or they're in the market for a piano but they don't have a big budget, and so they're looking for something that's perhaps used or very used that they can get for their home. And so we have noticed that many people have a lot of questions about what to look for if they're trying to find a used piano, and looking around on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, the Let Go app, any of these local neighborhood kinds of things where there are these pianos that are up for sale. They're cheap, they are $100, $200, and many people, jump out and they go ahead and grab these pianos and bring them home. And sometimes they get them home and they find that they call a technician like myself, and there are problems with the piano that are very costly to fix, or the piano can't be tuned, which that's something that can happen to pianos. Or even worse, there's things that have been living in the piano that they didn't know about. And so we're here now to kind of address this issue and to enlighten you a little bit about what to look for, and maybe to help you consider what purchasing a piano really involves. So today we're in Piano Works workshop. We have a space here for woodworking and different types of piano repairs, and then we have another side that's more finished where we do some more high-end work on pianos. And today we have 3 pianos that have come to us from a trade-in situation. People have purchased other pianos, and their pianos just were, one of those that you might see on one of the marketplace areas. So today, the first one we're going to show you is this piano, which is, a very nice mahogany, sort of cherry mahogany case by the Haddorff company. And the Haddorff Piano Company began in 1901 in Illinois, up by Chicago. And this piano was made in 1957, just right before the Kimball Company took the Haddorff Company over in 1960. Haddorff created this name, Verdichord, which was the designation for this upright style that they made. Don't know really what it referenced, if anything. It was just a name that they used. And it was a well-built piano, and we love the sort of little secretary leg there, the decorative leg, and this music desk is very nice, and this has a nice key tops, no chips, no cracks. So there's a lot of good cosmetic things with this piano that if someone were to go and see this in a home, or think that this might be a really nice piano because the outside's been decently taken care of, they would say, yes, I'll pay $100 for that. But there are some issues that make this piano not something a person would want to purchase. So let me show you a couple of things. I'm going to take the piano apart and I'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. So we've taken the Haddorff apart. We've opened up the music desk and the key cover, and we've also opened up the bottom so that we can look inside there. These are things that would be good to do to check out a used piano. We see the typical things that are wrong. Of course, some dust inside. That's very common. Not an easy place for people to clean, so dust can accumulate. But overall, this action looks really in decent shape. The hammers are all still spaced very nicely, and the leather and felts don't look too worn. And these parts here, which often are come apart at this fabric place here, are in reasonably good shape for their age. Yeah, this piano is 60 plus years old, and so we might expect there to be a little bit more wear on it, and there is. So where is the problem with this piano? Well, one of them is the homeowner did not tune the piano very often. So we find the pitch is a problem with this piano. Even though it sounds in decent tune with itself, it is lower. And if you notice, you hear the piano continue to ring. This was the biggest complaint for this homeowner, that she couldn't play the piano because it continued to ring. And because of that, the piano cannot even be tuned at this point, because that continued ringing interferes with our ear as we try to tune different intervals and notes. And especially if you played on the bass, the piano continues to ring just like that. It won't stop like it's supposed to. We know the pedals are not engaged here. There is another problem. So let me bring you over closer and we'll look inside at the dampers. And if you notice inside here that the dampers are sort of all cattywampus. They're not touching the strings. You see we've got a big block of them there that I move one and several move. These are not touching at all here. They're just sort of all over the place. And look at those. And this is something that we often hear people, or we see people advertise for things, these kinds of pianos that are for sale, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. They'll say things like, well, great piano, plays fine, just needs a tuning, or it needs a little work, one key doesn't work, something like that. And the homeowner, very, on the good side of trying to help the person buy the piano, and the person buying the piano thinks, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and hire someone like me to come and fix the piano. Well, not realizing how much things cost. And we have discovered with this piano that here is the problem. This is the damper of those parts that we pointed to before. And this piano was made, and Haddorff at the time began to experiment with plastic parts. So we see, and here's a piece that just came off in my hand, we see the wood, which was very reliable, the wire here, very reliable, but this part here is plastic. And the plastic of this era was very, very notorious for drying out and becoming unstable and breaking, which is what happens here. Lots and lots of spinet pianos have a similar problem with called an elbow, where the elbow breaks and the piano stops functioning. So here in this piano, we can pretty much say that all of these damper flanges would have to be replaced on this piano for it to become a viable instrument that could be tuned and played. This is a project that would run over $1,000 to fix by the time we replaced all of these flanges. The labor to do it is very expensive. I haven't counted, but there's probably 65 of these in this piano. Not every key gets a damper. So it would just be very labor intensive. And then of course at that time it would be worthwhile to perhaps change this felt, and then everything has to be re-regulated. This spring here, we would have to determine whether there was strength for this spring to continue to make it function. So all of a sudden now, a piano that we get in a sale that someone might say, well, $100, $200. If you have to have it professionally moved, that's going to run you somewhere around $250 to $300 after that. Quickly, you're at $400, and then it hasn't been tuned in a long time. It will take a couple of tunings, so $300 for both of those tunings, and now you're at around $700 to $800. And assuming that you can find someone who wants to do that work on the dampers, conservatively, I would imagine that is, a $1,500 to $2,000 repair. And then you have to say, okay, is the piano worth that? The hammers are old, the keys are old, everything's old, the wire is old. Would I spend almost $2,500 for a 70-year-old piano? And sadly, its appearance is very nice. However, the money to fix this makes it not a candidate anymore to be an instrument that someone could use. Therefore, this becomes something we would take to the dump. There are no parts on here that are usable. A few things we might be able to take off, some screws that would be valuable in the future, and some other things. But in general, it's not a salvage kind of a situation. And somebody might want to use it for a bar, or we've seen other things it turned into, but we don't have a resource for that. So there it is. Here's our first instrument that we have today that we wanted to show you of what to look for if you're out there trying to think about buying a very used piano. And sometimes they're just not worth the little bit of money that they're even offered for. Thank you. Let's go to the next one.